Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Havoc, and earlier today, I stumbled across a little meme on Facebook. And normally, I don't give these things much time of day, but, every now and then you just have to, let it go, as one wise person once said. So, if you saw the title of the video, you know what this is about. The argument that this meme is going to put forward is basically that it's the fans that are ruining Star Wars. Or, well, it puts it past tense. So, fans have ruined Star Wars, not Disney. And the question is that true? I'm going to respond to the argumentation that is provided by this meme, but I want to read through it first here so we can get through it so that for those who are just listening, you can kind of follow along here. So if you see here, it's Luke and Vader talking, where Vader reviews the parentage of Luke. Well, that's a stupid way of putting it. Vader tells Luke that he's his father. Forget it, that's staying in. So you have that scene, and Luke's here with his hand all chopped off and stuff, and he's labeled Star Wars fans. And he says Disney ruined Star Wars. And Vader, labeled reality, not a different opinion or a different way of viewing things, but labeled reality, says, no, you ruined Star Wars. Luke says, no, that's not true. That's impossible. Vader says, attacking George Lucas after the prequels, bullying actors off social media, insulting people who like new episodes, constantly blaming others for why you don't feel the same way why you did as a child. Search your feelings. You know it to be true. Now, I'm not claiming these people are grammarians, whatever. They're not good with the grammars, shall we say. And I don't claim to be either, so, Anyway, so then Luke screams no. So here's the argument, and it's probably one you've heard before, but the fans have ruined Star Wars. Well, is that true? Well, as you can see, the meme offers some form of argumentation, and I want to just go through it and see, is this fair argumentation? Are the fans really ruining Star Wars? I mean, because here's the thing. The question for me is, am I ruining Star Wars? Because in a sense, I would consider myself to be a Star Wars fan. Now, not the new episodes, per se. That's a discussion for perhaps another time. But I was the kid growing up. Put it this way, I can still name the type of engines on Anakin's pod racer. They were Randon Ulzers. I don't know why I remember that, but that's the kind of kid I was. I was just a real Star Wars nerd. Like, whenever I would go to the library, if they had a Star Wars book there, that would be one of the books I was taking for a week or 2 weeks. I don't remember how long the library let you borrow the books for, but that was my thing. I was a Star Wars kid. I remember there was this one book that it was put out by people who normally put out like science books and history books and stuff like that. But this one was a Star Wars book for who knows why. But it broke down like, how the ships were laid out, like the episode 1 ships. Like, here's where the droids were stored in this particular type of ship and everything. It was really cool. That was the kind of kid I was. So, yeah, am I a Star Wars fan? Yeah, in some sense. I love a lot of Star Wars. I love the originals. I love the prequels, even though, you can acknowledge the faults in them. I even really loved Rogue One. I'm not going to argue that it was a perfect movie, but I was really attached to that movie. I saw it several times in the theaters, that sort of thing. So this question is not just, are the fans, this nebulous group out there, ruining Star Wars? The question is, am I part of why Star Wars has been ruined? Well, let's review the argument, shall we? Number 1, attacking George Lucas after the prequels. And I just want to notice before we even dive into this one, do you see the poisoning in the well here? You see it? Like, it's not disagreeing with Lucas's way he decided to pursue making the prequels. That's not what it says. It doesn't say thinking that perhaps the prequels shouldn't have looked like they were PlayStation 1 games with all of the CGI that he used. That's not what this is saying. It's saying attacking George Lucas. And I would simply ask, what do you define as attacking? So if I critique George Lucas and say, George, perhaps you should have used some more practical effects like you did in the original trilogy, is that attacking him? If I say the acting was not the best, especially from Hayden Christensen, is that attacking him? If I say, hey, midi-chlorians probably shouldn't have been explored, that was a real hit to the lore, is that attacking? If I say, hey, the scene about I don't like sand has become a meme,
I don't like sand.
Is that attacking, or is that just pointing some things out? So you see, the well has already been poisoned because it's not that the Star Wars fans are disagreeing and offering argumentation for why they disagree with the pursuit of X, Y, and Z. It's they are attacking him. So you guys attack George Lucas. I fundamentally disagree. George Lucas was critiqued. Now, if you follow the history of like people liking the prequels and then not so much, it's from what I've heard, a lot of people peg it as the Plinkett reviews really are what put it over the top, and then all of a sudden the prequels are laid bare, so to speak, and people see them for what they are. Whether or not that's true, the idea is at some point people started actually putting a critical eye to the prequels and going, oh, these aren't that good from a critical perspective. So if you review anything, does that make it bad that you reviewed it? If you offer a critique, does that mean that it's bad that you offered the critique, not that the thing that you offered the critique for? So you literally can't review anything, or else it's attacking George Lucas. Because, folks, that's what changed people's opinions, was taking a critical eye and examining the prequels. It wasn't, oh, George Lucas is, this such and such, whatever kind of personal attack you want to throw out. People don't personally attack George Lucas, not that I've heard, at least. The idea is, hey, he made some pretty dumb movies. That's not attacking the man. But this is one of the pieces used to prove that the fans are ruining Star Wars. What's next? Bullying actors off social media. So if you don't know what this is in reference to, this would be Kelly Marie Tran, who is the actress who plays Rose Tico in episodes 8 and 9. Now, here's the thing. A couple things about this that are somewhat problematic. Number one, I have not seen confirmation from Kelly Marie Tran herself that is actually why she left social media. Now, I know that there's a big narrative going on about how Kelly Marie Tran was bullied off social media, this, that, and the other, but from Kelly Marie Tran herself, I've actually not seen that. So I wonder if this is actually true. But let's grant for a moment that this is true. This is why she left social media, because she was bullied off the internet. Is that Star Wars fans' fault? Does this mean Star Wars fans, because remember, this is an argument being presented for Star Wars fans are ruining Star Wars. Is this a good argument for that? Well, a couple things to keep in mind. First of all, if you can't handle bullying on social media and you're in the public eye, you probably shouldn't be on social media. Now, what you did not just hear me say is that it was okay for people to bully Kelly Marie Tran. That is obviously something that is really dumb. If we can agree on something, we can agree on the fact that it was really stupid if people were saying racist or sexist or whatever other problems you want to throw in there. If people were being genuinely bullies to her, that's a problem, and I agree, okay? So let's get this out of the way before people start saying, oh, you think it's okay, you're defending bullies. That's not it at all. But if you don't understand that there are bullies on the internet, then perhaps you probably shouldn't be on the internet. Or at least if you can't handle being bullied on the internet, you probably shouldn't get on the internet. Because as much as you want to say that this is a problem, that doesn't make the problem go away. And if you can't handle the problem, you probably shouldn't try to face the problem. So just to keep that in mind. Number two, this is not all the fans that didn't like the movies. I can't stand how much I've heard this before. When people disagree with those who have praised The Last Jedi and those who have praised The Rise of Skywalker, one of the things that almost without question will come up is, well, you guys are the people who bullied Kelly Marie, forget it, that's staying in too. You guys are the ones who bullied Kelly Marie Tran off social media. And I just step back and go, no. Or you could take a different approach and say, hey, you're a human being. You're one of the people that did the Holocaust. Well, no. No, just because we're in the same general category does not mean that I am responsible for what they have done. I'm a Star Wars fan, and I didn't like the sequel trilogy. Does that mean that I am responsible for everything done by everyone who did not like the sequel trilogy? Absolutely not, and no one with a logical brain cell could argue otherwise. It's just not the case. And here's the third problem with this line of argument. This is not why people didn't like Rose Tico. This isn't the argument people present. Rose was a terrible character, not because she was a girl, not because she was Asian, not because she was any of the things that you want to attach to her that would be like, oh, you're such a bully. That's not what people didn't like. In mass, people didn't like the character herself. because she was a bad character. She electrocutes people who aren't part of the resistance for trying to flee the resistance because they wanted to save their friend. That's a bad. She's part of a pointless subplot that goes nowhere and is a real drain on an already bad movie in episode 8. That's a bad. She cares more about furry giant horses with big ears than she cares about the slaves on that planet, the slave children on that planet, because when she frees the horses, now it's worth it, whereas before it wasn't worth it. But those kids are still all slaves. That has not changed. So yeah, Rose is a bad character, and to just put the whole thing in, kind of one fun bag, let's tie this with a beautiful bow that says, that's how we're going to win, not by killing what we love, not by killing what we hate, but saving what we love, as the door that is saving what she loves gets blown open because she wrecked Finn and stopped him from stopping the little mini Death Star tech that was going to blow the door open.
That's how we're going to win. Not fighting what we hate, saving what we love.
Like, you cannot say that I just argued that Kelly Marie Tran is a bad person, or that we don't like Rose Tico because she's an Asian or because she's a girl. That is not what I said, and you know it. If you're being honest, you cannot make that argument. So we're 0 for 2 now. We didn't attack George Lucas, and we're not bullying actresses off social media. We disagree with the person, okay? Thirdly, insulting people who like the new episodes. Here's where people need to make a clear distinction, and this is where the approach, I probably will actually differ with some of my favorite YouTubers on this one, and they don't care because I'm nobody. But here's a very important distinction that needs to be made. You can absolutely love something that is garbage in quality, but you have to be willing to admit that. See, currently I'm working on a project, actually, of critiquing a movie that I absolutely love. It just, gets me every time for who knows why, but it is actually a pretty bad movie from a film writing perspective. Or you could say from an objective versus a subjective perspective. You have to be able to acknowledge this. And when I disagree with it being a good movie, that is not me attacking someone or insulting someone who likes the new episodes. But here's how it usually plays out. Someone says, "Oh, I really liked episode 9." And I say, "Okay, well, do you think it was a good movie?" "Well, yeah, I like episode 9. Well, see, here's a problem. We've now conflated categories. You're arguing now that it is a good movie, and from best I can tell, you're arguing that because you enjoyed it. Well, that's not a good argument. See, the difference is, you can enjoy it, fine, I don't care. You can enjoy whatever you want. I've admitted to enjoying the prequels already, and that's, anyway. But if you are going to argue that these are well made, now you have put yourself in the line of fire. And I don't mean that in the sense of now you're going to be called all the names under the sun. I'm not going to excuse that. I'm saying now you have put yourself as making a claim, not of a subjective thing where you just enjoyed something, but now you are arguing these are well crafted. And now you are open to scrutiny. So when you put out an argument that something is well crafted and you are responded to, and someone says that your opinion of it is bad because your facts are incorrect and you don't have a logical argumentation to put forward for this, you cannot be upset that someone responds. Again, it's like saying attacking George Lucas is bad, which means you can't respond at all. You can't critique, you can't do anything. So someone can claim The Last Jedi was a brilliant movie, and you just have to say, okay, I guess that's right. Because if I was to disagree with you, I would be insulting you, apparently. I think we can understand this is not a way we can have a normal, productive dialogue. Right? Lastly, constantly blaming others for why you don't feel the same way you did as a child. Now, here is one of my least favorite points. It might be my least favorite point on this entire list. Why? Well, it's because of the underlying assumption this thing is bringing. And here's what I mean. In fact, I'm gonna tell you what I mean by an illustration. This is gonna be fun. This isn't off the cuff or anything. But here's the illustration. So the other day I was talking to somebody, actually one of my family members, about not liking episode 9 and why. And he obviously liked episode 9, and we were talking about it. And I kid you not, he was just saying, the reason you don't like episode 9 is because you went in there wanting to hate it. You had made up your mind that you didn't like the movie already, and you wanted to hate this movie. So, of course, you're going to hate the movie. And, you ignore all the stuff. And he literally does this. He goes on about, you ignore the stuff in episode 4, 5, and 6, and this, that, and the other. And I said, okay, first of all, that's whataboutism. Just because you can point out a flaw in some other movie does not mean it makes this movie any better. That just means you're trying to kind of deflect the attention to something else. That's not a good argument. That's called whataboutism. Number 2, you have poisoned the well for this conversation because you're assuming my intentions. You've assumed everything about me. So now I can't have this discussion with you because you've already assumed where I'm coming from. So I said to him, okay, and you just love Disney so much that you're willing to suck down any fart they put out, and you want them to take all your money, and you want them to be the new god of your life, and you want everything Disney writes to be your Bible, and you're going to worship Disney for the rest of your life. Now, neither of us are correct in what we're saying, but we don't have to provide evidence here, apparently, so we can just assume each other's intentions. And he didn't like that very much, but the fact of the matter is, this is the problem, and this is the same thing this little point is making. Blaming others for why you don't feel the same way you did as a child. You don't like the new movies because you don't feel the same way as when you watched them as a kid. Well, how do you know? How do you know that's why I don't like these movies? It's not like people could make literally 5-hour critiques of The Last Jedi. It's not like people could make like 15-hour critiques of The Force Awakens. Still waiting on the next episode there, Mahler. It's not like you could do all this stuff, right? Going through logical reasons why these movies are poorly written, going through plot holes and contrivances and MacGuffins and all these different things. It's not like we could do that, right? It's not like there could possibly be a well-argued reason why we don't like the movies, right? No, it's just blaming others, meaning I'm guessing JJ and Ryan, for why you don't feel the same way you did as a child. Oh, by the way, let's throw Kathleen Kennedy in there too. The Force is female, sure. Blaming others for why you don't feel the same way you did as a child. What a terrible argument. But here's the thing. This was not meant for me, this meme. In fact, it's really not meant for people that disagree with this at all. In the sense that it's not going to work. At least I hope it doesn't. Like, I highly doubt that there was a mass of people that were convinced into being ashamed of themselves because of this meme. And if it did happen, good grief, I'm so sorry that you didn't think this through. But I want you to understand, there is a bully in this situation. The bully is whoever made this meme. Why? Because this person cannot provide a logical reason why their movies are good. But they want you to believe that anyway. And they will browbeat you into thinking you're the problem because you don't love every blessed thing coming from Disney or everything that has Star Wars slapped on it. So you are a bad person. Folks, that is bullying. They're trying to bully you into this because they can't argue you into it. Why? Because they have no good arguments. Enjoy the movies if you want, but do not bully people into taking your perspective on them being well made. If you want to change their mind, present facts and evidence and logical argumentation. No, the Star Wars fans are not what is ruining Star Wars.